You are listening to The Brutally Honest with Cademan. This is the third part of the Valentine's Day special episode. So if you haven't listened to the first two, go back, listen to those. But I hope you enjoy.
So, as a guy, just take me and my brother.
Mm-hmm.
I'm inclined more towards the intellectual, scholarly, artistic type,
Right.
whereas my brother is more inclined towards the warrior type.
Mm-hmm.
And neither of those are bad things. It just means that I have to learn to be a warrior, and he has to learn to
not crush all the pretty things.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and usually you can kind of blend them together in different ways. But it's very much it's like this idea of be you that the world puts out there, but then it's like it's very judgmental on what you should be. And I think there is a certain truth to you should just be you. But you shouldn't be your flesh, I guess.
Yes.
And I think it's like kind of to like you're gonna need to learn to be both. But I feel like that pressure is something that shouldn't really be put on someone by other people.
I agree.
But it's like for me, I guess, I have a lot of anxiety at just not knowing what I'm doing. Just being the one guy who's completely clueless. And
well, here's a hint. So's everybody else.
Yeah. But it's like one of those things where it's like, people will be like talking to me and they'll be like, oh, you really need to be more this or be more that. And it's like, yeah, you don't think like I worry about that every night when I'm trying to sleep?
Yeah.
It's like, it's something I'm trying to work on. And, there's a place for critiquing people's character, I guess. But
yeah, if no one did it, then none of us could ever really get better.
Right. Yeah, but it's I guess kind of to know what people are already like seeing in themselves that trouble them.
Right.
Is kind of what you need to look for.
Right.
Do you guys know what time we actually started?
Well, we're about 45 minutes in.
Oh, okay.
There's that guy right there.
Oh,
that gives you your current time.
Wow.
Yeah. So that'll help you to know exactly how far you've gotten in.
Okay. I'm not cutting that out. They're gonna get to hear that. Or maybe I will. I don't know.
Editing.
Yeah.
Makes us look smarter.
So much so.
Yeah.
I think the first couple episodes of this, I said so much. And I was like, I'm not gonna cut out any or any empty spaces, because called Brutally Honest, I have to be completely honest about myself. But then I was like, this is really hard to listen to. I'm gonna cut out the
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of
you don't know how hard I had to try not to say that.
that happens.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun. Like right before you said it, like your mouth started to open, and I realized what I had done.
Yeah.
Now every time I say I'm gonna start laughing. What have you done, Michael?
Something horrible and evil.
Oh, there we go. I just have to get in the habit of saying instead.
Right.
Exactly.
No, but do you think, like, I don't know, in a relationship, to bring it back to relationships for a little while, like, how would you critique someone you're in a relationship with?
You have to approach it carefully. especially depending on the person. And, you know, if you're in the relationship, then you know their insecurities and the things
Or you
that
should.
you should,
Right.
yeah, that bug them. And so you have to be careful in how you approach critiquing them, but it's also important to actually do it, because if you don't, it's just going to sit and grow, and
It'll start bugging you.
And then it'll bug them, because by the time you finally tell them, it's like, how long has this been a problem and I didn't know?
Right. And it could be a problem for your relationship.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's very important to do it out of love. You know, do it when it's not annoying you or driving you crazy, or you're not angry about it. It has to be at a point where you can go, okay, we need to talk about this, but I'm telling you because I love you, you know?
And I want to help you, and being able to actually like help them figure out how to fix it.
Exactly.
Is also important.
Yeah.
You know, like, or at least being able to just be there for them while they fix this.
Right.
You know, like, and it's also important that they know that like this isn't going to drive you away.
Right.
Like, you know, this is a problem, but I'm still here for you.
I think honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Because,
yeah.
like, just in, you know, the non-romantic relationships I have had, it's like you know, like what you said about how long has this been bugging you.
Exactly.
Like, for me, I always say, like, you know, if something's bugging you about me, it's better to tell me
Yes.
than to just leave it there.
Sit there. Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, like I said earlier, there's times when people will be like, oh, Cademan, this thing. And it's like, you don't think I'm already working on
That's
it? You
true.
don't think I see that? So I guess there is, you know, there maybe is a little space for both.
Oh, I
but
agree.
as long as you kind of explain it respectfully.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, say the full thing. Say, like, don't just say, hey, Cademan, you suck, because every time you burp, you don't say, excuse me. Instead, like, every time you burp, you don't say, excuse me, and it kind of bothers me.
Right.
But, you know, you're still a great person. That doesn't change that.
You're not making, like, derogatory statements about the person.
Right.
You're just saying, you know, this is a habit that bothers me.
And like, I know that like there's definitely a temptation to just like not say anything, because saying stuff to people that you know is going to upset them, and you know it's going to bother them, and you know it's going to hurt them somehow is hard.
Right.
And so there's definitely a temptation to be like, well, maybe if I don't say anything, it'll
just go away.
It'll just go away.
But see, and that's the thing, is that introduces another problem. Is if I had an experience a while back that I hate to death, hate talking about it, but it just someone told me that someone told them that
a
joke I made upsetted someone. So there was three loops, and like, you know, they were,
and then it finally reached you.
Yeah, it's like, first off, I hate this because those two people didn't come to me with it.
They should have come to you.
Secondly, you're kind of also betraying their trust by bringing it out, you know, and like that conflict is like long over. I straightened it out with everyone. Actually, it ended quite good. Like, even with God, even when you lose, you still win.
Right.
But, you know, it was one of the times in my life when I was just like, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing. I just made a funny joke, and apparently it wasn't taken good.
Yeah. And then, like, in my experience, you know, when you don't tell someone about an issue that you have, that just like starts building this wall between you.
Right.
And you start being concerned because it's like, well, they didn't tell me this, so what other 6 things are there that they're not telling me?
Yeah. And that's, like, I guess, once you like do something wrong just a little bit, it's easy to just, do the next thing wrong.
Yeah.
Because like you're like, oh, it's already a little wrong, so why not make it, add a little more. But I think being honest is definitely a big area. Not that you should tell everyone everything,
right?
But
no, definitely not.
Right.
There's like, there's definitely, I think there should be people in your life that you could tell everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I just think, generally be more honest. Like brutally honest. Be honest even when it hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are ways you can go about it to make it hurt less.
Right.
Because just telling someone up front, these are the things wrong with you.
Right.
That just hurts.
Yeah.
But you can also be like, hey, I love you and you're awesome, but these are the things that I think you're struggling with, and I want to help you.
Something I heard once was if you sandwich it, so compliment, critique, compliment, then it's
who doesn't love a sandwich?
Who doesn't love a sandwich? Yeah. But it's like, that way it's like it makes, part of it is like it makes the critique more memorable because you're complimenting them at the same time. And part of it is just like, it shortens the time when they're angry at you because they're happy with you, then angry for a second,
and then happy
again.
Or you could look at Jesus in the book of Revelation. I know your works and your patient endurance and this and that, but I have a couple things against you.
Right.
There are some issues. And like he doesn't shy away from telling you the things you're struggling with and the things that he wants you to improve on, but he also tells you, where you're doing good.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the truth of the matter is it's going to come out eventually in some way, in some form. I mean, the Bible says that about sin.
Right. Be sure
it's going to come out eventually. And so, whether you hear it from, like in your situation, from the person when it first bugged them or several people later, it's going to hurt you less if the person just came straight to you and said, this bugged me.
And the thing is that if they'd gone to you straight away, then there was a whole situation that developed that would have been completely avoided.
It would have been eliminated if they had just, which is why I'm very careful when I have a problem with someone. There's a fine line because sometimes you need to talk it out with someone else. Like, is this really a problem or is this just me?
Right.
Is it as big as a deal as I think it is? But that's where you go to someone you trust and it's confidential and it's not with the intent of gossip or harm. It's I have a legitimate concern and I want to make sure that I'm not the only person who thinks this is a problem, which I've done in the past. But then we didn't both go and attack her with the problem.
Right.
I went to said person and said, I noticed this. A few other people have been noticing this. This is a problem, and I'm coming to you. And I told her, I'm telling you this because I love you, know.
I think also, like, well, on that, there's, well, never mind, one of those break apart moments. No, but also there's, like, certain people that, they'll just, I think, kind of, I've gotten in trouble with people just because, there's been times when I've been, kind of pointing out flaws, and to them, they're like, oh, that means he hates me, he's mad at me. And it's like, oh, he doesn't do this to anyone else. And it's like, well, actually I do. You just don't see it.
Because it's not their business. They don't need to see it.
Right. But it's just kind of, I think, because a lot of people just weren't raised with that much honesty, I guess.
Even if you are, it's always hard when someone comes to you with, I have a problem with you. Because you always either feel hurt or you feel like you have to defend yourself or, you feel attacked. And the truth is that you're not, but you feel that way anyways. Everybody does.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, as gentle as you are, they still feel attacked and upset because, you know, likely they're humans. And likely they're really upset with themselves for whatever it is, but it just shows.
Especially if it's something that they know about and they've been trying to deal with and it just doesn't go away.
Yeah, like what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you know, you as an outsider can't know that they struggle with that and that they know that it's an issue necessarily.
Right.
And so you go to them and you're like, hey, I noticed this is an issue. And you're just trying to help.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why you can't beat a dead horse.
I do think, I don't know, I guess, like, there is kind of sometimes when I think, you know, even if someone knows it's an issue, like, it is a good idea to go to them with it, unless they go to you with it. But I mean, the fact is once you talk about an issue, then you realize it's actually an issue and you can start fixing it.
Right.
But if you never talk about it, always leave it to yourself. And like, you can't know exactly, like, everything that goes on in people's heads. You can't know if they've talked to someone else or not. Like, there's a lot that you can't know.
Right.
But if you're going to them with the attitude of, like, I want to help you with this, or...
Right. I think that's where you have to go to someone once, and you almost kind of figure out where they're at with it. Because maybe they'll say, oh, yeah, some people have talked to me about this, I'm working on it, whatever. But you can't just keep going to them with it. Like, you know, it's a week later, you're still not fixing this, you know.
Or, you know, 20 minutes later. Why isn't this fixed yet?
Right. And the truth of the matter is they might never fix it. They might decide they don't care, and that's not your problem anymore. The problem is, you know, you go to them, it's like the watchman on the wall. When he warned the people that someone was coming, or whatever that situation was, when he warned the people, it was no longer on him if they died, but if he didn't warn them, then it was on him.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And so you kind of get your part out of the way, like, I'm going to tell you this, and I love you, and if you want my help, then I'm here. But this is no longer my concern. I just need you to know.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, of course, is always hard when 6 people come to you about the same thing in the matter of a month, and you're like, I get it, okay? I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, you know, there's been times when, like, people have complained about just issues with other people, and I'm like, if it's an issue, we can talk to them. Like, why are you talking to me?
Right. Exactly.
I have nothing to do with that situation.
I hate when people come to me like that. There's a fine line, though, because sometimes the truth is they need actual advice about said situation.
Yeah.
Right.
But most of the time when they come to you, you're like, you can go talk to them. I don't want your gossip.
Right.
Yeah, and trying to find that line between, like, you know, are you talking to me to figure it out and looking for advice, or are you just complaining?
Are you just venting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem because I don't think people are confrontational enough. Because confrontation isn't bad.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not bad. And so people avoid confrontation because it makes them uncomfortable.
Right.
But the truth is you kind of need to be made uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So instead of going to complain to 6 different people, you just need to confront the one person.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to close. So, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Michael has a podcast, is on hiatus.
Yeah. Wedding planning and Caleb being in school has kind of put that on hold for the time being.
Right.
We're hoping to be able to do some stuff over the summer, is our plan, and just kind of have a summer season. And then, hopefully, as life gets a little more stable...
Sure.
Yeah, I know. Fat chance, right? How about as we get better at managing our time,
there you go.
we can find a better opportunity to to actually record that on a regular basis.
Sure, yeah. So, that is the two witnesses. Love listening to it. Oftentimes, when I do, I'll end up like talking to them, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, this isn't a conversation. Like, I'm not actually talking to them. This is just a podcast I'm listening to."
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, it's very good. I'm not sure I agree with everything they always say on the podcast, but I don't have to. I can still enjoy listening to it.
And to be perfectly honest, that's kind of the point of the podcast. Is like you don't have to agree with us, and Caleb and I don't agree with each other,
right?
Very often. But my goal with it personally is to show people that there are more ways of looking at things and understanding things than we might have been traditionally taught.
Right.
And putting it out there and going, okay, like you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to decide that this is the way to understand it. But like think about it. Think about what it means. And if it makes sense and it works for you, great.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's like you don't have to agree with everyone about everything. But it's like, yeah, you don't have to agree with everyone to enjoy them. And I think that's one of the things that through this podcast I'm kind of hoping to, spark out there.
Yeah.
As well as being honest is another big thing. But anyway, yeah, thank you guys both. Great talking to you. And yep, I guess I will end now.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yay!